Today we're going to mount everybody's favorite road tire, the Continental GP5000. This one is a tubeless version. I'm taking off an old one first, just to show how easy that is to do with only a single tire lever. You see here I'm just deflating the tire enough so that there's almost no pressure left in it. It was set up tubeless. We're going to first install it with a normal tube, just because that's something that some people have trouble with. And then we're going to go ahead and do it tubeless as well. So here I'm just sticking my tire lever in right by the valve. I just need one, and I'm just going to push it kind of like a zipper, just right around. Gets the whole bead off almost instantly. That sound was popping the other bead off the little shelf in the rim. As you can see, I've got a bunch of sealant in here. Some people try to save that sealant. I buy it in bulk jars, so I'm not really going to worry about it. You need to wipe off all this dribble though, otherwise it's pretty messy. I'm also going to remove the tubeless valve, since, like I said, I'm going to first install a tube in here, as if it was a roadside repair. I like to use valve caps because it keeps junk out of the valve, which doesn't really matter if it's just air, but with tubeless sealant that can gunk it up. I'm going to unpackage a new in-box GP5000 TL. Again, it's a 700 by 28. Start by just unfolding it and kind of popping the thread so that it's mostly the right shape. It'll still want to figure 8 on you. Not really a big deal. I tend to line up the model name of the tire. As you can see, this one has some of it written in black before it says 5000 TL. So it looks a little off-center. I do like to line it up with the valve though. That's more than just style points. It gives you a reference when you're looking for a flat tire. For example, if you puncture a tube, you can line the tube up with the tire based on where the air is coming out and find whatever's stuck in your tire if there's something still there. As you can see, the first bead was a little bit tight, to be expected with this tire. It is a tubeless tire. This is me aligning the logos a little bit better, trying to line it up with the seam side of the rim and also the valve side of the rim. Unroll our fresh tube. I'm just going to put mouth pressure on here. You don't really have to pump it up, you just kind of have to put enough air in it so that it'll roughly hold its shape. You don't want to pump it up too much, otherwise it stretches and it's longer than you want it to be. But if it's completely flat, then you're very likely for it to get stuck under the bead and get a pinch flat when you inflate it. Then I put the valve through and then tuck the rim up and over the, or tuck the tube up and over the rim edges all the way around. I'm not worrying about the bead just yet, just getting the tube out of the way. Now I'm starting at the seam side of the rim opposite the valve, and I'm seating equal amounts on both sides as I go around using both hands. It's not going to go right over on the first try, so I go back and I tension it And I apply just a little bit of pressure to keep that bead down in the center of the channel. And again, if I finish at the valve, that means the valve isn't blocking me taking up slack for that last little bit to pop over. See how easy that was? Again, this is one of those tires that everyone says is so tight that they want to use bead jacks and multiple tire levers, put them in the sun for an hour or two. None of that's necessary if you just do it the right way. As you pump it up, you might hear a couple little sounds. I'm just going to fast forward through the pumping. Took it up to about 75 or 80 psi, which is what I ride a 28mm tire at. Here I'm spinning it so that I can look at that little line around the tire just to make sure it's evenly seated all the way. And I want to see that on both sides. Looks good. Part 2, making this tubeless. You see I've got about 2 ounces of orange seal endurance, and I've got my tubeless valve ready to go. It's always a good idea just to push a little Allen key through your tubeless valve whenever you have it off the bike or when you're swapping tires. Get any gunked up bits of sealant out of there. That'll make it easy to inflate your tire. Now, I don't have to take the tire all the way off to get the tube out. I really just have to get that one bead off and then I can yank the tube. Again, I'm using this thing kind of like a zipper. Out comes the tube. Without the tube in there, it's actually easier to seat the tire. And I haven't ridden this, it's just sat there for a minute while I got my valve ready. It's not stretched out or anything. Some tubeless valves you have to make sure they're lined up, like these Bontrager TLR ones. I'm just making sure to hold the top of it so it doesn't twist as I tighten the nut. Now I like to inflate it without sealant in at first just to make sure that it holds good. That's especially important when you use a taped tubeless rim. With these TLR branded plastic rim strips, it's less of a concern, they almost always work perfectly. But I still do this as a best practice. Again, I'm applying tension as I go around with both hands, and it makes it look just so easy. I made sure that both beads were straddling the valve instead of the valve being under one or to the side of one. It's a high volume, low pressure mode, which blows more air in faster per pump stroke. That helps seat a tubeless if you don't have one of those charger cans or air compressor. My air compressor's off to the side, but I figured I'd do it the toughest way, which is with a normal hand floor pump like this. As you can see, it appears to be holding air. Now I'm going to put some sealant in. Now, I'm just fast forwarding the deflate. And that sound was the bead popping off the shelf once it lost pressure. Now you can inject your sealant through the valve. That's easy to do. But you can also just squirt it in through a little bit of bead. So what I've done is I just pop off just a little bit of bead right here near the valve, and I'll pour in my 2 ounces of sealant. And that way I don't end up with any sealant in the valve stem itself. Like I said earlier, that can sometimes make it hard to inflate your tires if it gets gummed up. You see I'm letting it drain away from the valve. And once I'm done squirting it in, I'll just slowly roll the wheel a little bit to get the sealant away from the valve. You just have to be a little careful that you don't squeeze it out the bottom. And here, again, I'm just gonna roll it over with my palms just like before. The bead is still mostly seated, so it goes on easily. Again, I'm gonna put it in high volume mode. See, it's already up to about 40 psi. 60, and I'll take it to around 75. Sometimes a tubeless tire will make a loud pinging sound as it seats. These newer Continentals tend to have a little bit more rubber around the edge. That helps them seal as you pump them up. But that also takes away some of that pinging sound. As you can see again, my bead is seated evenly all the way around on that side. And it's also evenly seated there. Just gonna clean a little bit of this dribbled sealant off. And like I said, I like to use my valve cap. That's all there is to it.